Ciao e bentornati! Welcome back to PILLOLE D'ITALIANO. Today's episode, episode number 21, is finally one where we're going to tackle prepositions, at least a bit. So my viewpoint, I know that prepositions are really difficult in any language you study, like even when I studied French, starting from Italian, those are two similar languages, but prepositions are not necessarily used in the same way. I can imagine how even more difficult it could be for English speakers learning Italian, where the distance between English and Italian is wider than the distance between Italian and French. Anyway, all this to say that usually my approach is not to sit down and study going through an endless list of verbs with certain prepositions or specific situations where you're going to find that specific preposition and just try and commit it to memory. I don't think that that works. Or some people are very passionate about studying that way, but the majority of the people that I work with and that I encounter, they just get sick and tired and lose motivation. So the way I would recommend anyone to go about learning prepositions is actually acquiring them, meaning paying attention to what they're reading and listening to every time they hear or read di, a, da, in, con, just to use your antennas and stop a second, pause, and try to absorb the preposition within the context that you're hearing it or reading it in. With that being said, what I want to do today is to present a bunch of verbs that are very much used in Italian, and all these verbs are followed by the preposition a. So we're only going to tackle this subgroup and only the most commonly used verbs. Okay, before we jump in, as usual, just take a moment to subscribe to the channel if you're new to it, and I will remind you again to use the comment section below to ask me any questions pertaining this specific lesson or anything else that crosses your mind. I'm always happy to answer, and I could even make a video concerning that doubt that you have. So don't hesitate and use the comment section below to communicate with me. Okay, let's talk about this preposition a. When do we use it? There are a bunch of verbs that go together, and that should make it easier for you to just remember when to use a. Right after verbs of movement, so coming, going, and staying. Those are verbs such as andare and venire, so to go and to come, tornare or ritornare, to come back, arrivare, to arrive, entrare or uscire, to get in or to go out, or stare or restare. Stare and restare, both versions exist, and they mean basically the same thing, to stay. All of these verbs want the preposition a right after. So every time you have a coming and going or staying verb, followed by another verb, of course, in the infinitive form, then you will need to put the little a in between those two verbs. I'll give you an example. Vado a fare la spesa. Vado a fare la spesa. I go to do the grocery shopping. So I go grocery shopping. You notice how after a, I'm using the full verb fare. Vado a fare la spesa. How about vieni ad aiutarmi? Vieni ad aiutarmi. Will you come or can you come? This is a question. So do you come to help me? And of course it's a request. So can you come to help me? In this case, I don't know if you guys noticed, but vado a aiutarmi will be a bit difficult to pronounce because the verb following the preposition a starts with an a, with another letter a. So that preposition a becomes ad. A aiutarmi, ad aiutarmi. It's just a sort of a springboard, a little consonant that helps me regroup before the other verb starting with an a. So before pronouncing that one. A or ad is the same preposition. One more example, and let's make it with the verb ritornare, which means to come back. If I say ritornerò a allenarmi or ritornerò ad allenarmi, I'm saying I will go back to work out. I will go back to train, physically training myself. And so you see once more the verb allenarsi has an A starting that word, and so instead of saying ritornerò a allenarmi and having to pause between the a, the preposition, and the verb, I'm saying ritornerò ad allenarmi, putting the little d after a so that I can run it together. Ritornerò ad allenarmi. What I'm saying, I will go back to training, meaning I will resume training. Another verb that is followed by that preposition a is the verb to help, aiutare. Aiutare a. Aiutami a preparare la torta. Aiutami, help me, a preparare, to prepare, la torta, the cake. Aiutami a. So help me to, and then it's followed once more by an infinitive. Now I want to introduce the triplets, how I like to call them. So these three verbs, at least in my head, they're linked logically, are the verbs provare, a, imparare, a, and riuscire, a. They respectively mean to try to succeed at, and to learn to, or learn how to. So provare a, the first thing that comes to mind is that movie with Leonardo DiCaprio, Try and Catch Me. In Italian, the title was translated as Prova a prendermi. Prova, so try, that's a command. Prova a prendermi, try to catch me. Prova a prendermi. Riuscire, to succeed, is followed by the preposition a again. So if you want to say that you had success doing something, that you succeeded at it, you would say sono riuscita, in my case, sono riuscita a farlo. If you're a man, you would say sono riuscito a farlo. I just want to open a little bracket here, grammatical bracket. I'm using sono in the past conjugation of this verb riuscire because riuscire comes from the verb uscire, to exit, to go out. Being one of those coming and going verbs, even though the riuscire, to come out again, actually means to succeed now in modern Italian, but the root is a coming and going verb. Therefore, when I conjugate it in the past, I need to use essere as an auxiliary. And if this is too complicated and is getting over your head, it's fine. If you didn't tackle the past tense yet, that's totally fine. I just wanted to put it out there for the people that are, wrestling with the past in Italian. So that I wanted to explain why I'm saying sono riuscita a farlo and not ho riuscito a farlo. And the last one in the triplet combination is imparare a, to learn to. Voglio imparare a parlare bene in italiano. This could be your statement, your big vision. Voglio imparare a, I want to learn to, or how to. Parlare bene, to speak well, in italiano, in Italian. Another verb that is followed by our nice preposition a is tendere. Tendere a. Tendere a fare qualcosa is to tend to do something. So I could say, for example, in my case, non tendo ad ascoltare la musica mentre lavoro. Non tendo, I don't tend to, usually that's not my tendency, right? Non tendo, that's a present. Non tendo ad ascoltare la musica. Once more, I'm using a verb that starts with an A, so the preposition a takes the little d to help me with pronunciation. Non tendo ad ascoltare la musica, to listen to music, mentre lavoro, while I work. Another thing to keep in mind is that every time you start an action or you continue doing that action, you need to use a, right? So when you start and when you continue. The verbs that we use in Italian to describe that concept of starting are cominciare or iniziare. Cominciare or iniziare. You might also hear people use the ricominciare, so to start again. Say that they had great New Year's resolution, they started an activity and then they stopped, usually like the majority of people does around February, and then they decided, you know what, I'm going to pick it up again. Ricomincio, I will start again. or I'm starting again, ricomincio, maybe around March. So just to give you an example, voglio ricominciare a meditare. Voglio ricominciare a meditare. I want to start again to meditate. Voglio ricominciare a meditare. And if you are already doing something and you want to continue that activity, then you use continuare. Continue, continuare. Continuare a. Vorrei continuare a studiare italiano tutti I giorni. Vorrei, I would like to, continuare a, to continue to, studiare italiano, studying Italian, tutti I giorni. Every day, all the days. Vorrei continuare a studiare italiano tutti I giorni. Bene, very well. With this, we're going to conclude today's episode. Hopefully your head did not explode. I tried to portion and package these verbs in groups so that it makes more sense, and hopefully it will be easier for you guys to remember, for example, the big group of coming, going, and staying. That should help you a lot. Let me know in the comment section below if something is not clear, if you would rather package these verbs that we introduced today in different ways. I'm always open to suggestions and always trying to tailor my episodes as best as I can to all of you. And take a second to like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel if you're new to it, and I will see you next time. Ciao, a presto!